back to another session by dentists in corporate and management roles. Today we have Dr. Rudra Mohan with us, and we're going to be talking about dentists in insurance. We also have Dr. Vishal and Dr. Ankit, and they have started this community of dentists, which has now 350 plus members on LinkedIn. For more information, you can refer to the link in the description of this video, and you can feel free to reach out to us for more information. So Dr. Rudra is a periodontist and he has been working with MetLife. He's also doing some work with the, I believe, insurance industry in the US. So, sir, we'd like to know more about that. How did you enter this field of insurance and what is it like?
First off, thank you for, it's my pleasure and privilege to be able to, have a discussion about, it's a great initiative by the doctors here that, about dentists in various management roles and corporate. So basically, my elder brother, he is in MetLife and he had, he's been working there for the past 1 decade. And he was aware of the fact that there is a dental consultants team, which is the offshore facility for the US. So dental insurance in the US is, it's pan-US apart from a few zones, and it's very widespread, and it's quite exorbitant when it comes to the cost of dental healthcare there. But the kind of cover that the people get, it's pretty huge for the kind of premium that they have to pay. So I was working previously in another corporate, and I wanted I had separated because things were not working out there for whatever reasons, and I got to know about MetLife, and the fact I was at that point of time I was not practicing. In the sense, I did not have my own practice. I was doing consultancy, in different various clinics in Delhi NCR. And so I thought, why not give this a shot? The basic skill requirement that you require there is you should be, tech savvy a little bit, little data driven. So that's right now, I think that's the biggest asset for any, corporate, industry. So basically that I had joined in 2018. So it's been about 2.5 years since I've been associated. So you, because your skill set is so different from the whole, the corporate crowd there. So MetLife is like a huge stalwart when it comes. It's a 126-year-old company. So the kind of sustenance that MetLife has, it has its own accolades. It's considered in one of the few big companies that is known as a GPTW, a great place to work, where work-life balance is considered a very big priority for employee satisfaction. So that's one thing, and I've noticed that MetLife is. I've noticed that the people they really they're retaining their attention of the employees is fantastic. Like if you meet anyone across the floor, they'll probably say I've been associated with MetLife for about 10 years, 7 years, 9 years, and what the crowd, the millennials, you don't expect that kind of retention amongst the youngsters, but that actually happens there. So that's basically about it, and so you have to basically our whole SOP is about processing claims. There is nothing clerical per se. It is data driven, but mostly it's a clinical based decisioning on the basis of X-rays, and we have to follow a certain set of guidelines and the standard operating procedure, which is established by the onshore site.
Right. So I think when we talk about dental insurance, it is a very rare topic that people bring up. You hear a lot about medical insurance, but dental insurance isn't much spoken about. And like you said, that the pricing of dental treatment, all of us know it's exorbitant. And
it's
so
it's uh, it's I mean, if you compare it to India, you will probably have a mini heart attack, saying they're probably quoting 10 times
right.
what we quote of the same material. But then again, they have that kind of investment in healthcare, and the premiums are not too high. So basically, dental insurance basically requires, the biggest thing that is a challenge, which when we want to talk about a country like ours, is the standardization of charges. So the first and foremost thing is, you look up any procedure, and according to the zone that they belong to, or what is known as an office number, like state wise. So that way, that has a standardized charge. If you want to place a restorative material, you want to have a prosthesis, there will be a range of things about different types of materials, but they will have a standardized charge. So you can't charge any patient as per your will, and everything is documented. It's the level of documentation is magnanimous. It is because we have another, like we are the dental consultants, or consulting dentists as we call them, and you have a separate entity which is making sure, like you have underwriting team. Basically, you have to make sure that all the forms that are there in the dental insurance forms, all the inputs are placed right. There's a lot of audits that happen, so it's a very well oiled machine that way.
Right. So I understand that in insurance, something like documentation is so important. And like you mentioned, a dentist should be tech savvy to enter this field. So,
Absolutely, you need to be
yes, would you?
good with computers. That's one thing. I mean, you need to have the basic knowledge. I've seen people. I mean, it all ultimately it boils down to your own learning curve. Basically, I've seen people who did not know what control plus V and control plus C mean. They don't understand that, but now you see them. They're using hotkeys, and they're on fire with their hands. So again, it's a personal choice. But in today's world, I think most of the dentists, we've been exposed to laptops and computers and hardware. So I mean, we're a generation who knows their way around gadgets.
That's true. That's true. And so, sir, would you recommend this field for fresh BDS or MDS graduates?
So the I would call it a weird thing, but the good thing is there is no differentiation there when you're hired. If you're a BDS graduate or an MDS graduate, probably your clinical experience might count a little bit when it comes to compensation. Otherwise, there is no difference, because we are briefed there that you have to somewhat set aside whatever clinical experience you've drawn. Obviously, interpretation of radiographs is one thing, but then again, the way their SOPs work, it's much different than how we work. Like, I'll give an example. There they do vital crown preps. So they don't do RCTs like us. If you want to do a crown, I mean, we also do vital crown preps, but it's not very popular in India. People definitely advise for getting an RCT done, devitalizing the tooth and then going for a crown. But wahan pe, they just blatantly, even if there's like a small, if it's not a small filling per se, and it can have any sort of a retention compromise, give a crown. Don't even hesitate. So that's what it is. The nitty gritties are quite different, and it also makes you understand how different the two countries are in their approaches when it comes to dentistry. The standard of care, the kind of documentation, it is brilliant, and sometimes cumbersome as well, because it's like they're when they start off with it's called a narrative. So whenever you have a claim with you have a narrative, and the whole narrative has the whole procedure, like COVID symptoms checked, betadine mouth rinse done, temperature checked, pulse oximeter reading this, medical history and everything. It's very detailed. So, but I think they're used to it because they have those software there, so that way it works for them. So it's pretty well documented.
I think it must be very different, because there's a stark difference. So all of us are from MCODS Manipal. We were graduated from the same college. And to see the subsidized rates over there, when we compare that to the kind of prices that people are charging in private settings, it must
Yeah,
be.
absolutely. It's there, but the thing is, the best part about that aspect there is that you can't charge over the, you can't overcharge. That's,
Yes.
I mean,
Right.
the bare minimum charge is also quite exorbitant. I mean, uh, a regular person would probably think twice. That's why now I understand, if you've seen the shows from the 90s, if you've seen sitcoms and early childhood shows of the West, all the children were like, you see the people from the West, they don't allow their children to consume sugars in the West. So now I understand what's the thing, that fear of getting cavities. It's because it's not the fear of pain or emotional trauma. It's the fear of your pocket being emptied. It's that expensive there, because I have relatives coming over, yeah, coming in over from Maryland and East Coast, West Coast, everywhere, and they get their treatment done in India because it's dental tourism, because it's uh, you know uh, it's pretty reasonably priced, and the quality is not that different, to be very honest. Yes, they take a lot of precautions. There's a lot of standardization, but I felt that it's pretty okay. It's pretty comparable. If you go to a good dentist, we are matching up with the standards.
Right. I've also heard of a lot of people coming to India for their implant procedures. So,
Yes,
agreed.
yes.
I mean, dental tourism is quite, yeah, popular here.
It's
Dr.
quite
Ankit,
popular because, please, yeah.
I was just saying that maybe Dr. Ankit can, ask his question.
Yeah, so what I wanted to know was, since I mean, there must be a lot of people working there from different backgrounds. So how
Hmm.
helpful is your background in dentistry uh, when it comes to your job? As in, you must be
So
having an edge over the other people, I'm sure.
absolutely, we don't realize how creme de la creme we are. Unfortunately, because our contemporaries have been taught to be so competitive, we forget that we stand out in a crowd. I mean, so where I work from, learning and development is, L&D is considered like a huge thing. So uh, it kind of influences if you've taken a lot of it's called upskilling. I think Vishal must be very much aware of that. So if you're upskilling yourself, it improves your performance with your supervisor. So it makes a lot of difference. And what happens is, if they want to try something new, intellectually speaking, the first crowd that they pick is dentists, because they'll be like, you guys are come from a scientific background, it won't be that difficult for us to get the point across, compared to other dentists, other people from non-dentist backgrounds. So the good thing is, like, when you get hired there, like most of the people from any other non-dental background, you get hired as either mostly an associate, and then as a specialist, and then as a consultant, and then you go to team leader, right? So that's the hierarchy that is mostly followed. If you're a dentist, you're like uh, directly hired as a team leader. So my designation is team leader operations, dental consultant, team leader operations. So that also gives you an edge, because it's very simple, and we have like a floating uh, anecdotal humor going around, that consulting dentist का काम कोई नहीं कर सकता है, लेकिन consulting dentist सारे काम कर सकते हैं. So that is the word of mouth that goes around there, that these people are creme de la creme, and they know their stuff, and no one can take their position, because of the fact that the kind of education we have, you can't compare it with anyone, even if. So yes, you do walk in, when you're going on the floor, people do obviously, I won't say look back, but yeah, they do definitely give you some space, like the consulting dentists are there. And on top of that, the revenue generated is huge. So when it comes to when we're calling it as we call it LOB, line of business. So in our line of business, the revenue generated is huge. So obviously we are considered as an asset there, because how we are functioning, we are bringing in a lot of revenue to the company. If I maybe, I mean, I can't go into the details because of the company policy, but let's be honest, any insurance treatment that takes place, bare minimum, you're probably charging $1,000 for one claim, and you're probably dealing with about 2,200 claims per day. So that's a huge amount of money. So that way you're respected because, you know, you're making the money for the company. So that makes that gives you a sense of importance. So that way it's pretty good.
Basically standing between the money and the company. I can put it that way.
Yeah. So, but it's pretty good because obviously you get that sense of acknowledgement as well. A lot of, let's be very honest, dentists crave the, what we call, the respect. Sometimes we might not get it amongst our field, in our core field, but you get to know, you definitely stand out, and how your thought process works. It's a completely different ball game, and also it becomes a challenge as well, because we have always been taught in a very organic way of learning, right? We've been very, it's for us, it's a very, there is a lot of decisional capability that is required for our, line of work in the core field when we're doing clinical dentistry. But when it comes to stuff like, numbers, data, Excel sheets, and all that, right? So it becomes, at the start, it's a learning curve, and it becomes like, sometimes you also feel at the start, I'm supposed to be, turning air rotor. Why am I doing Control C, Control V, Shift, Sum, and all those Excel functions? But then again, it opens up a lot of horizons. You understand the power of data. That's a big thing. I have understood that. You understand the power of data, and you're literally bringing two worlds together. Your organic world and your mathematical or managerial world somewhat. So I mean, again, it's a personal choice. How do you want to take it? So we have this joke amongst our team as well. Dentists are people who are not good with maths, right? I know Vishal is an exception. Vishal is fantastic with maths. So, but yeah, it's true. If we have this joke, like, if I could, multiply that fast, why would I be a dentist, right? So yeah, that's that. And yeah, so it's a good experience. Definitely, it makes a lot of sense. Just trying to make the best of both worlds.
So do they prefer hiring dentists, or whenever they put out a job application or a job requirement, is it a general one? Because honestly, I did not know about this before you got into this.
Yeah. So it is definitely a job requirement. As to what happens is that, so, like any, it's a knowledge process, outsourcing, it's a KPU. So whenever you're outsourcing more work, new kind of work, new kind of narratives, new kind of guidelines from the onshore, you might not have the same, with the same manpower, it might just, pressurize the same amount of people. And what we call as, capacity utilization and buffer utilization and all those matrices, basically how much of a team is being utilized for the current work. And those things are there. We get to understand that. So basically the hiring is done on the basis of requirement from the onshore, and they do press releases about that. But then again, it's a pretty close-knit community, so most of the times you get direct referrals from people, people who are already there. You have people from all kinds of backgrounds, from pan India, you have postgraduates there also, you have undergraduates, recent pass outs as well. So yeah, that becomes the thing. And obviously there's a difference. What happens there is very simple. We do have a sense of hierarchy when it comes to our core field, right? We had that senior junior thing in college, postgraduate, undergraduate, nothing of that sort. If you're a team lead, if you're a BDS, fresh pass out, you're a team leader. If you're an MDS with experience or practice, you're a team leader. I mean, and then onwards, whatever promotion scope that you have, depending on your, personal ability to take the leap of faith with whatever skills that you have.
So basically, I mean, I think the job gets filled even before the vacancy gets out. That's what you're trying to say. Since people
No,
know
I'm not
already.
saying that.
Okay.
People know about it. We get a lot of, when there's a referral. When I went there as, for giving my interview, there were 22 people there. So yeah, there were 22 people there, and
all
the
of them were
exam is
dentists,
tough.
or
all of them were dentists. All of them were dentists. They don't hire any non-dentists for this work. So you have to have a BDS degree minimum, and they hire you. And there are two things basically. Obviously, there's a test. Acha. The thing is, US is very strict when it comes to quality standards. You have to score more than 90% to get through in the written test, right? And also the accuracy or the quality, the QC, what we call as quality check, has to be at 98%. So that's definitely something, it becomes a little, I wouldn't say overwhelming, but it comes as a surprise because, we've always had this percentage distinction, first class, those kind of things, right? But when it comes to, the quality score has to be 98%. So that makes, a lot of difference. And that's where the whole thing, is very essential, so that you need to be very proactive as to where you're processing claims, because it is a transactional process. That means people's money is involved. So they're very particular about these things.
Okay. So, and one more question that we get asked very often is, can we handle the clinic as well as a job, a corporate job at the same time? And you started your clinic after you got into the job. So what are the challenges did you face when you were setting up your clinic? And later on, like right now, along with the office timings and the clinic timings and the patient calls and your own consultations, periodontal consultations, how do you manage all that?
Right.
And would you recommend the same thing to other doctors?
So, to be very honest, if you have the will, you can do it. There is no harm in doing it. If you ask me honestly, and Ankit, we have this conversation very frequently. If you ask how many hours I work a day, it's 14. So, and I love it. And I'm not glorifying burnout. I don't feel any burnout. It's been 3 years. And it's been almost 1.5 since my practice opened. So I'm okay with it. Because of the fact that it's a big corporate, it's a GPTW corporate. It makes sure that employee satisfaction is there. You have a work from home facility. Ever since the pandemic hit, I've not seen my office space since March 2020, 26 March, right? And so it makes a lot of difference. Also, that does bring a little bit of flexibility, because if I am going to the office, then it is a very tight schedule. I cannot, it's like, I wake up in the morning. Also, yes, a very critical thing for all dentists who are thinking of planning to apply, it works around Eastern Standard Time. So that is the US time. That means it's a night shift. So if you're a night person, fantastic. If you're a morning person and you can adjust like me, it's fantastic. If you're a morning person and you can't adjust, then you might want to reconsider, if you have other commitments, right? So what I realized is that, again, you have to make best of both the worlds. So what challenge I initially faced in the initial first few months of opening up my practice was time management, obviously, because you'll get up in the morning, you'll visit the clinic, you'll sit there at the clinic, having patients, treating patients. That brings a sense of fatigue as well. And then you're driving to office in the evening. Thankfully, the nature of the job is such that you, if it's a 9-hour shift, let's say, extended 7.5 actually, you can finish off your work within 6 hours. So you'll have that 1.5 hour thing, so where you can probably take a little bit of a breather. You can do stuff at your own pace. There's a lot of, like all corporate offices, they have recreational spaces. So you can and the best part about companies like MetLife is that they believe in a holistic development. Be it they do a lot of fests. I'm a part of a project known as Met Music, since I'm a musician. So I'm a part of the Met Music team. So we do performances, and there's a lot of things. So it also what it really taught me, personally speaking, was it opened up a new realm, because I'm still a morning person. On Sundays, I still wake up at 6 o'clock. But otherwise my shift timing is about like from 5:30 to 2:30 a.m. In summertime, and then daylight savings happen around November to February, so that's 6:30 to 3:30. It might create a little bit of a fatigue issue, but you have, if you're young, if you're single, if there's not much commitments, you don't have kids, and you are open to change, you can definitely practice it. And the best part is weekends are off. So most of, Ankit also knows it, most of our clientele in the practice comes on Saturdays and Sundays. So even if you have, you can, so this is what I do with my practice. All the major cases that I have, long-term cases or any periodontal surgeries, I schedule them around Saturdays and Sundays. So, and all short cases that I have to do, the minimally invasive cases that don't take much time, I do them around the weekdays. So that way I'm not strained that much. And the best part is there is there's no non-compete clause in the company. The company allows you to practice because you need to be abreast with all the new things that are happening, and you need to be keep on refreshing yourself. So like my manager knows about my clinic, my VP knows about my clinic, so it's encouraged there. The only thing is, yes, they say that you should not burn yourself out, that you're not able to manage, but it's a very, very, very healthy work environment. Again, I said it's a data-driven company, so as long as your numbers are fine, no one can say anything. As simple as that. So you deliver on your SLA, that's the service level agreement, and everything falls in place. Plus, you have other perks of you can. There's so much I got to learn, right, with the help of the learning and development tools that they have. They have an L&D team. And you literally, whenever we are in there's something known as a virtual instructor-led training session, where they have trainings like the didactic lectures that they used to have when we were all in the office before work from home. And you can actually, there's so much more you actually understand as a dentist, that you really stand out from the crowd. Like you would probably, any one of us as a dentist would be much more vocal, intellectually speaking, in any sort of training, because we will have that, because they try to do. So most of the crowd that comes from a non-dental background are associates who are 22, 23, they're very young people, right? Most of the dentists that they apply, they're probably around 27, 28, 30s. The people there are people there who are there in the 40s as well. So that way, what happens is that you definitely have a definite edge over others. In sort of mostly the intellectual way, I guess.
So I think you get a few patients from there as well, from your office colleagues.
Oh, networking is fantastic. I was about to come to that point. So it also, obviously, Ankit and I talk about it a lot. I think, Ankit, we've treated one of my colleagues also at your clinic, isn't it? Yeah. Right.
Two of them,
if I'm not wrong.
Both of them.
So two of them actually. Yeah. So it helps in networking very well, because now imagine you're working in a place which has 3,500 employees, and you are already considered creme de la creme. And if your social skills are good, your networking skills are good, you're already at a team leader position. It helps you interact with people. If your extracurricular things that are there, like I have my music, right? So and whatever projects that we work on, you interact with people, you slip them, you don't slip them the card, but you tell them on WhatsApp that this is the thing. I do my YouTube stuff as well. So I have patients coming in. So I live in East Delhi and I practice in East Delhi. My patients come from West Delhi. And they're my colleagues from MetLife, and they've gotten their treatment done. So that way it helps. You really, what I've understood when it comes to corporate, this corporate that I'm working with, people relations are very important. That's what it is. So, and we are hired as a people manager role kind of a thing also. So we are expected to be little, outgoing, a little outspoken, to be having some sort of leadership qualities, that we can lead a team. That's very important. So we are obviously definitely our qualities are definitely, whenever we are going for, the yearly appraisal and all those things. So these things are also, measured, that, what all initiatives you've taken, any value stories you've created, any projects you've created. So they encourage that. So that's what it is. So you get a good clientele. And the thing is, the weirdest thing I'll tell you is, no one amongst our fraternity calls each other as Dr. Saab, but everyone there calls you Dr. Saab. I have not seen the kind of respect that others give us compared to, the non-dentists. You get a different sense of respect. And I was like completely flabbergasted, and like everyone's calling me Dr. Saab. It's it's a good feel. You feel good about yourself.
So one major point that I got from your answer, and before I give the baton to Dr. Vishal, I mean, the kind of work that you're doing along with the job and the clinic, and you said that you're working for 14 hours. So I think it is very good for people who are, as you said, single. But for the married people, I don't think it will be too wise to have a job. The job like yours,
choice, Dr. Ankit. I have people who are married with kids.
Do they have a clinic
with
as
two
well?
kids? They have a clinic as well. And
how are they managing?
So I'll tell you very honestly, the people that I saw who were married, had a clinic and were working, I'm like, if they can do it, why can't I? That was my main source of inspiration, to be very honest. But they do it. They'll be like, it's very simple. Everyone requires, we know how, heartless this pandemic has been when it comes to corporates, be it any field, right? And job security, financial stability, forget thriving. You need, you don't need thriving right now. You need survival.
Yeah,
that's what it
Most
is.
of us are fighting for survival right now. When it
Exactly.
Comes to
so we've all gone into we've gone into a survival mode, and I think I'm very grateful. Like I cannot thank my colleagues and my supervisors, and how I am very grateful that I have this job, and that's what actually reflects. So what happens is, I've had this conversation with you, Ankit, before as well. Once you have a constant stable salary, you can really focus on quality practice when it comes to dentistry, the core dentistry. So you don't have to worry about the overheads, the expenses. Obviously a greater part of your salary might go into that, but then again, you won't have sleepless nights. Oh, I have to make rent, and I might have to cut corners. I might have to compromise on patient ethics. I can do quality specialized practice. And that's what I'm saying. I was initially I won't say a lot of people were very, skeptical about me running a specialized based practice. But by the grace of God, my practice is actually 95% of it is running just with the help of Perio. And in India, that's a big thing, I feel. And I'm just very grateful for, my stars being like that, and whatever I might bring to the best of my ability. But then again, I mean, what else do you want? I mean, you're literally doing what you like doing, what you're specialized in, and you're learning things on the other way. So yes, there is a lot of variables, Ankit, when it comes to choosing, because the first few months were very, if I should say, uncomfortable for me, because of the fact I had to stay up late. Even if we can, staying up late in front of your TV till 1 a.m. in the night is different from staying up late in the office and then driving back. So then you have to make a choice. But then again, we all know how heartless the market can be. So sometimes we have to literally throw ourselves into fire to be forged. That's what I feel. So yeah.
Okay, that's, I guess, sum it up. And now I think I'll pass it on to Dr. Vishal.
Hey, Rudra.
Hi, Vishal. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Achha, so I've been itching to get into this conversation just because I believe that I can relate to whatever you have been saying for the past 25-30 minutes. Because luckily, unluckily, like after my MBA, I've been working with US healthcare insurance only. And I've been
You're working with Cognizant, right?
I was working with Cognizant, then I made a move last year. Now I'm a part of CTS Tech, which
Okay,
is another US
right.
healthcare IT based organization. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, so I was saying that it's been 3.5 years that I've been working with some of the largest healthcare insurance companies of US, be it the Cigna,
Right.
Anthem, so
Yes,
everything.
Delta
So
Dental,
whatever
yes,
you
all
were
those.
saying,
It's pretty
whatever
relatable.
you
I could understand. Yeah.
and for the first when I joined Cognizant, so initial 1 year I was in operations team only. So I was a team
Okay.
leader. It's myself over there, and
Nice.
I was dealing with claims management only. So mainly
Okay,
related
great.
to stuff like whatever are the penalties or the other things
Yeah,
with respect to
absolutely. Right.
management part of it, and then providing those
Right.
consultations as in like how those penalties can be avoided, what other things can be
Right.
done to improve our operations and everything.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
I just wanted to ask you, Rudra. So I'm sure that you wouldn't be directly involved in claims processing. I just wanted to understand your role in terms of how you help your team in terms of getting the quality enhanced or the other functions of.
So basically, we are. It is a transactional thing for us. So we have to process each claim as a team member. So we have a lot of QCs. We have a lot of every month we have a subject knowledge test. You must be aware of that. It's called an SKT. We have audits, and the accuracy is 98%. That means you can just have out of 100 claims you've processed, you can just have 2 errors. So you can imagine the kind of standards we have. It all looks flowery on the outside. Oh, you have a job, you're working with US, but it has its challenges. So you have, we also want to keep on, making sure that we are improving our guidelines. So we obviously have, training needs identification sessions. So where we basically have queries, that our consultants might have, we share it with the onshore, and then they give us inputs, right? Sometimes you must be aware of escalations that, the onshore picks up a case and they might want to ask you, why did you process this? This is not as per SOP, and you're supposed to defend that. Although that kind of thing is very rare because, we manage everything. We are at, Global Operations Service Center. It's called MetLife GOSC. Or GOSC as we call it. So everything is managed here, and then the reports are published, to the onshore and all those things. So basically, quality control is very important. That's the most important thing. Vishal, you must be knowing about the, the service level agreement. So most of our things, if you look at the non-dental places, as a team leader, you're supposed to have other, attributes to your name. You have 7QC, Lean Sigma 6, projects, black belt projects, green belt projects, yellow belt. All those things are there, but those things are still considered secondary. And, as dentists, it's, if you're not trained in, as an MBA, it becomes very difficult for you to understand these things in the first place, because our methodology as dentists have been very organic. Even if you want to call it scientific evidence, it is a lot of factual information and not mathematical operations, isn't it? So yeah, you get to revisit maths, which is a little weird for dentists, but yeah, it's pretty interesting. You get to a new world opens up because of that, because you have not, till I joined MetLife, I never understood what the power of data could do. It's amazing what data can do. And it has helped me in my practice as well. I've tried to handle all, the lean methodology that we have, so we can reduce wastage and make everything lean. I've tried to do that in my own practice as well, and it has helped. So you definitely can make some, progress in your own core field with the help of this job profile.
Great. So is there any particular region in US that you all target?
So no, it's everywhere. You get all the states mostly, except for a few states. You don't get, I don't know if I'm supposed to share it, but you don't get some of the states from East Coast. Some couple of states are there because they have their own onshore facility. Everyone has their own onshore facility, but then you don't process a few claims. So that's okay. So we basically process most of the states and everything. There's So yeah, there's a lot of strictness around, because Vishal, you must be aware of the HIPAA policy, and so all those things. There's a lot of data. There's a lot of personal health data. So we have to be very careful. You cannot, if you're not allowed to operations, you're not allowed to mail anywhere outside the organization. So these things you have to be very careful about. Those kind of things, because data privacy is a very big thing. Any sort of data breach incidents is like a huge escalation. So these things are something you need to be very wary about. But dentists mostly are, they have that kind of common sense of not making that kind of a mistake. So that's there.
Yeah. So one more question I have, Rudra, for you, and this is for budding dentists who want to join the insurance industry. So like when I joined, and I'm asking you this question because of my experience. So when I joined Cognizant, so initial 2 months, we had this training on US healthcare, because the nomenclatures and everything are very different from what
it's crazy.
And from what we use in India. So some of the
I sometimes when I speak to Ankit, I'm like, yeah, tooth number 11. He's like, hey, and I'm like, sorry, I'm talking about 2, 3. That kind of thing, because we are using the universal system there.
And there you call your doctors as providers.
Yes, they're known as dental providers there. There is a lot of codes that you need to learn, like a lot. Every procedural code has a number to it, which obviously we can't disclose, but there are a lot of numbers. So you always have to have your SOPs open, because you want to check. There is a lot of SOPs,
Correct.
So we have sit-withs, basically, where your auditor checks as to how you're processing a claim. If you miss out an essential step in processing a claim while you're sitting with the auditor, that can count as a problem. So that can really count as a problem. So you have to be very careful. You have to be very, specific to the guidelines, and you have to make sure that they focus a lot on customer centricity there. Those things are customer centricity, customer, stakeholder satisfaction. So this was all German and, chalks and oranges and apple, whatever you want to call it to me before I went there. Right. But then again, it's good to, see, the kind of the actual corporate feel. I feel corporate dentistry isn't corporate dentistry as it's supposed to be. You actually find better work-life balance here in MetLife, and there is a lot of stress given on employee satisfaction. I mean, I couldn't be grateful, so a company like MetLife is a company that no matter what happens can sustain itself. So I think you must be knowing about, Vishal, BCP, Business Continuity Program, right? Absolutely. So that way employees are taken care of, and all they expect in return is just make sure you're meeting your service level agreement, the SLA. That's the main thing. ये काम ठीक से करोगे, बस एक काम करना है वो ठीक से करो. That is the most important thing. And that's what mainly is. It's a good experience, and and on a personal note, my brother's also there. So you have a familiar person, and how to. I mean, I think I was lucky that way, because having your brother in the same company, who has been a veteran there for about almost a decade. So you really get that sense of guidance, that basically you should whatever steps you're taking, you should be watchful that way, to make sure you're not crossing any boundaries or taking any sort of risks or anything of that sort.
Great to know, Dr. So one very important question, and it all boils down to this, and because like whenever you're doing any kind of job and everyone talks about it, the work culture is very good and we get to learn and everything, but everything boils down to this: how good is the pay?
Okay, so pay wise, I'll give you an example. Obviously, I can't
just an extension to my question. Sorry, just an extension to my question. Can dentists make it as a full-time job, and what kind of promotions or other things they can expect in their future?
Okay. Okay. So
it's a broad question, but yeah.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. Compensation is better than what dentists are making as associates in private practice. If you know what I'm trying to say, like if you're working under another dentist, you'll probably be compensated much more. That's one of the catches, right?
Yeah.
If you're in private practice, then it's another ball game. Now Ankit is of that area. He knows how much private practice can, on your good months, you know how much you can make, right? And on
There's
hard
no
months,
limit, I guess.
there's no limit. But the thing is, there is, again, I'm saying right now everyone is in survival mode. No one is in thriving mode. We will be in thriving
That's
mode
true.
once the pandemic is over, right? So right now I'm still okay. So that's one of the things that I'm very grateful for, that when I go to sleep at night, or in the morning rather, right? So I'm still sleeping peacefully, that I don't have to worry about rent of my clinic, and everything else is it's just an addition, whatever I make of the clinic. Because see, once you're making that plunge that you want to do both, you have to understand that you have to make some sacrifices. I mean, personally speaking, I have not spent a penny on myself on anything that is unnecessary for the past, ever since I opened up the clinic, right? Everything has been siphoned back to whatever investment that I have in my clinic. And that's what makes you realize, when we are talking about compensation, it's very simple. India's biggest problem, and I don't mean to sound very broad-minded here, is its population. That's the problem everywhere. We had the second wave because of the population. We are having paucity of jobs because of population. So the compensation is pretty decent for dentists compared to what dentists are getting paid as associates in dental clinics or practices, and the kind of work-life balance that you get. And your extension of the question was, what was the extension, if I'm asked? You had asked the question.
I forgot. Yeah. So I wanted to ask, can dentists consider it as a long
Yes,
term or full-time?
absolutely. So it works very well for people who've already had corporate experience in previous companies who are dealing with dental insurance, right? You have what's the name of that company? Forgot the name of the company. EXL was there with MetLife before, right?
Okay.
So what happens is that most of the people who have joined there is a problem with this job profile, that it is very comfortable. You're getting my point. That's what is the problem is. So that's what I told. I'm very lucky and grateful, right? And I'm not talking about, the process, attributes. Process is very strict and all those things are there. But your work-life balance is okay, right? You're working from home, you have a laptop, right? Saturday, Sundays are off, right? And so it causes a lot of problems for people once you get used to MetLife work culture. And if you're going to another company, even for any sort of professional jump, but that kind of ease of workplace is not there. I've gotten this feedback from all of my dental my contemporaries there, and every time they've gone for a jump, right, for another company, they'll be like, yaar, पैसे तो ज़्यादा देते हैं लेकिन काम बहुत कराते हैं. You're getting my point, right? There's a lot of demand. Like, they literally train you for whatever that is there. MetLife will give you everything very nicely. You have to follow protocol and nothing will happen to you. That is the main thing, right? Salary wise is pretty decent. I mean, it is about what people, much more than what people get, post BDS, in good colleges as stipend. It's much more than that. I don't want to discuss the exact thing because I don't know, because that's like a company policy. You're not supposed to say.
Yeah.
Compensations, you get a lot of perks though. You get reimbursed for your internet when you're working from home, right? They're planning to procure, they're making sure that everyone, like a lot of, this about your corporate. Sometimes you don't have.
You might be getting some kind of healthcare insurance coverage as well.
You get that, you get parental insurance, you get term insurance, you get insurance validation, you get what do you say, like a lot of corporates, they don't have to and fro cab services. You're getting my point? Like there's a lot of matrices that are there, and that's not a thing. Like there is so much stress on women's safety. Like if you're going by a cab and it is an all women roster of the people who are boarding and deboarding from office and back to their houses, you will have a guard going with you. Like it can't just be a cabbie and the women.
It's just
and
like
mostly
everything you're saying, so it just reminds me.
So basically, I mean, they do make sure that there are some men inside the cabs, but I'm just giving an example. Like they really take care of their employees. They're they believe in inclusion, they believe in diversity, and they do when we call you must have heard of the town halls that we have, right? So in those they do very proudly talk about what kind of inclusion and what kind of diversity that they have. And best part is because 60% of our team, actually 70% of our team is women. So yeah, the diversity part is, I mean,
that's more or less like a BDS class only.
Yeah, so basically dentists mostly are women in India. So yeah,
that is so true. I think in a batch also, out of 100 people, 70 were girls.
About that much only. So, but
I have so many questions. Yeah.
Please go on. I have all the time. So yeah, please. I mean, I think whatever we can churn out for the people, because let's be honest, as I said, market is heartless. We're trying to look for options. We're trying to look for mental peace at these unprecedented times. Mental peace is very important. Let's be honest, everyone can talk about mental health. You need financial health as well. So I think these you will not sleep peacefully if your roof is not taken care of, if the food on your plate is not taken care of properly. So yeah, it is important. I mean, let's be honest, why would we venture out for a second salary or source of income? Because if it was not required, if we could sustain our practices in pandemic, if this wasn't such a weird airborne virus, we would have still been able to do pretty decently. And we have come across dentists who have had, especially the senior dentists who have had their practices for 30 years, 3 decades. They can't practice because of the fact that they're medically not allowed to, because they can't do that. They can't afford to get infected because they will probably succumb to it. And so yeah, you have to take care of a lot of variables. As when Ankit posed that question, yes, you need to know what you're getting into. I mean, everyone can talk, at the pretext of having a conversation, about a webinar or any sort of presentation or any sort of discussion. But yes, for anything that you need to come to, everything has its, I won't say pros and cons, but everything has its, ambitions and sacrifices. That's what I feel. Like, obviously, if as a dentist, like, I mean, pre-pandemic, if you're practicing in the clinic, you can still have a social life post, 8 o'clock, venture out, right? If you're single, you can probably date people. But when everyone's sleeping, on a Friday night celebrating, we're doing claims. But that's okay. You know why? Because that has opened up a new world. Now I can really appreciate the 24 hours of the day. Like, a lot of motivational speakers also say that we end up, wasting 1/3 of our life sleeping. I'm not saying you shouldn't sleep. Sleep is very important. Ankit would agree about it. But I'm just saying that you really understand the potential. Like, I know this from a personal fact that Ankit's brain works amazing in the night, right? He's been a night owl all his life, right? Right from college, you can tell, right? He used to sleep all day, but in the night, you can get him to do anything and he'll do it very, with a lot of efficiency. So again, it's a personal choice, I feel. So if anyone who is planning to go into this profession, all I can give as an advice is that, yes, there are some sacrifices you'll have to make. You'll probably have to adjust to the new timing, the schedule. That's a big criteria, by the way. I'm a huge morning person. I got up today at 6 because I didn't have, a shift yesterday. So I slept at 10 very nicely. and I woke up at 6. So yes, you have to take care of your health. It might cost you a little bit if you're not sleeping properly, right? So you have to compensate as much as you can. Basically, you have to make sure that you understand, as a dentist, we live in a world, especially, it's there in the US as well. Dentists and healthcare workers, especially our kind, we have very fragile egos. That's very important. And this is a very personal standpoint, I feel. Most of us, I'm not saying every one of us, but you need to keep that aside, because you are working in an organization that does not give, any sort of heed to your personalized knowledge or clinical knowledge. You have to follow the standard operating procedure and make sure that you're meeting the SLA, and whatever data that you're punching in is accurate. That is the most important thing. It's a data driven company. So data, you cannot, if you have the data, that's what they say. You can do anything in the world, but if you don't have data to prove it, it's null and void. As simple as that. I think Vishal would agree to that.
True. That's true. I completely agree. Yeah.
Right.
So Rudra, we have got so many more questions to us, and I can ask you 50 questions, but our conversation will go on for another 3 hours.
Yeah.
But because of the paucity of time, so I just want to ask one more question, and I believe Ankit can just have his final word, and then we can close this session. So what makes your job interesting? I wanted to ask you this question because I was having one discussion with Ankit, and I myself, I'm a part of dental and medical insurance. So insurance, when I was doing my MBA, so there was this insurance subject. So I used to find the subject as very dry initially.
Yeah.
But
it
then
is. You have to. It's an acquired taste, Vishal. I'm speaking personally for myself. We all have lull days. Everyone has lull days, even in the clinics, right? Sometimes you're doing a periodontal surgery and you're like, what? Sometimes you feel that way. But so you have, it is an acquired taste. You have to romanticize. So Vishal, the best way to make sure that you have acquired a taste and an affection for this is by being grateful. This is what I keep on telling myself as well. I'm not trying to give a moral lecture, but it's very simple. Every day when I feel that I'm probably having a sense of lassitude because of the monotony, I'm like, khana kaise khaoge bhai? You need the salary. It's very simple. This is something that our generation couldn't understand because we were born with silver spoons. Let's be honest. I mean, I'm not saying that we were affluent, but we were very privileged. Because every time I used to have this conversation with my mother or my father about anything that came up at work, with what is happening? Every office has that, and they'll be like, they're giving you a salary, suck it up. It's as simple as that. So yes, I completely agree. If someone doesn't have a knack with numbers, it's a little difficult because you'll be like, but then again, it helps to understand a lot of other things. Like now, if you give me an X-ray, and I've told this to Ankit as well, I look at around 600 X-rays per day, right?
Wow.
So now if you give me an X-ray, I can probably tell with one squint eye ki, haan, isme ye cheez hai, and all those things are there, even if it's not for insurance purpose, but my diagnostic ability has improved. Secondly, there are a lot of ways to upskill yourself. That's very important. Like I am learning a lot of things nowadays because, now I'm handling data. There's a lot of reporting that you need to do, and you can learn those reporting skills. So your people manager role also helps you. What helps me understand is, when I'm speaking with people, who are probably of the general crowd, and I don't mean to sound exclusive, but you know what I'm saying. Non-dentists is general crowd. You understand their temperament and how they work, right? So that way it helps me understanding the people who are coming to my practice who are non-dentists, right? And let's be honest, there are only, Ankit might be aware of this. There are only two people who are very aware of oral hygiene. One is our geriatric population who wants to eat with dentures and implants, and the second one is the corporate people who are scared of stains because they have to go on a date, right? Or they have some sort of, halitosis problems, so their spouses are not, allowing them near themselves, right? You're getting my point. So that's what the thing is. You have to have if you go with a closed mindset, because I also initially had my apprehensions, because my first apprehension was, oh God, I'm a morning person. How am I supposed to handle 5:30 to 2:30 shift? It's madness. A guy who gets up at 5:30 in the morning, and you guys remember from my hostel days, I used to get up early. And that creates, but then again, you have to get used to it. You have to get used to it. I mean, it's
even
a job.
My first year at Cognizant itself, so my shift was from 6 o'clock in the evening till 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
Every day I used to come back at around 4:30 or 5 in the morning.
There are a lot of changes, because you understand now it's very difficult for me to, whenever I'm writing a date anywhere, because Vishal, in the States, it's MMDDYY, right?
Yeah.
You end up writing this and people are like, sir, aapne date kya likhi hai? And I'm like, sorry, the format is different. So there's a lot of difference in how they work. But then again, it opens up different avenues. We don't get to speak to our clients much per se, because that's the senior leadership's call. But then again, we understand what the demands of the clients are, and I think our profession is a beautiful profession as dentists. But somewhere down the line, when you're providing them a service, I again won't call it a business, private practice, but if you're providing them a service, then customer centricity and customer satisfaction, those kind of parameters that we hear in corporate too much, somewhere down the line, they manage to encroach upon in our subconscious space of, the mind, where we make sure that, our patients are also handled well. That's what I feel.
True, very. So I believe I'm done with my questions. Ankit, you have any final comments, any thoughts you want to share with Rudra?
Yeah, since our primary host, Dr. Pallabi, has had to leave, so I'll be finishing the session. So 1 or 2 final questions I have for Dr. Rudra. So my main question would be, how can freshers apply, in the sense BDS or MDS graduates who do not maybe want to start a clinic right away, or who are looking, I mean, as we discussed, the remunerations are not very good when it comes to not having your own clinic. So how can they apply? And second, Dr. Vishal already asked you the question, but I think due to company policies, you aren't able to accurately reply to that. But if you can give us some approximate amount, because that is the main question, how anybody, after we graduated, we were also looking for a place which would give us the maximum amount. So any idea, 20s, 30s, 40s,
you can give a range, I believe.
Yeah, your salary can range from depending upon how fresh you are in the market, from the late 20s. You will not go below that, first of all. Late 20s is like the basic, and sky's the limit depending upon whatever experience you draw.
And so
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So this for a fact, that the remuneration of late 20s for a fresher novice dentist is very rare, unless you're practicing in like a 7-chair clinic, right? That the dentists, the freshers are not remunerated as well as we were talking about companies like MetLife. Right, you were saying something on that.
What I was saying was, so in the beginning, okay, in the late 20s, but suppose if somebody who doesn't want to go into clinical, or somebody who does not like clinical, who maybe wants to be into a non-clinical job for the rest of his life, maybe. So where, how much can he be earning then 10 years later, 20 years later, or 30 years later?
Ankit, 10 years later, you'll get a good thing. If you're not planning to practice, then you have to come up with this solution that you want to venture out into different other aspects of, the company. Like you have, Vishal might be knowing long-term disability, right? Medical transcription, then you have quality, then you have business excellence. So that is completely dependent upon your upskilling ability and your ambitions. If you want to, I've had experiences where people have switched to different, paradigms in the same company. They came as dentists, and then they shifted to another line of business, be it corporate functions, where it's B2B, business to business, be it retail, be it enabling functions, anything, and they are doing very well. So, I mean, for people who are like, who know that dentistry, core dentistry is in their calling, there's a lot of scope. Because if core dentistry isn't your calling, then once you've entered the corporate pool, there's a lot of avenues, especially, a company like MetLife. But then again, that's the accountability you need to have on yourself, that you're ready to upskill yourself as much as possible and as fast as possible. If you want growth, you will have to jump, because dental side, this growth is slightly slower, because it's a transactional process. When it comes to the corporate function part, when it comes to, B2B, there is an easier chance of getting promoted, and, the so-called upliftment of your, compensation can be faster. So that is basically your, again, it's a very, I think Vishal would agree, it's a very paradoxical thing, isn't it? That you sometimes feel that you are, when it comes to, when you're working with a lot of people in the same team, you're like, oh my God, I'm just a face in the crowd. But when it comes to upskilling yourself, you literally have to stand out. So that is again a personal choice. People that a lot of people have made those kind of choices. They've moved from one line of business to another, and they're doing very well, and they have no regrets about it. They're like, yeah, I like this function, I like this line of business, and so that's all again down to you. It boils down to what your ambitions are. Like if a person comes up to me and says that I want to become an AVP, you will have to work very hard, man, in any company, and Vishal knows that. You have to, any corporate, we know this, the effort reward imbalance is huge, right? It's very important. If I am telling you that whatever claim that we are processing is about $1,000, right? $1,000 is what, 70,000 rupees, right? In Indian money. And let's be honest, no one gets that kind of a salary or compensation, right? So again, that's how it is. That's how it is. It's like a worker and force thing that is there in every corporate. That whatever money that you're bringing into the company is not exactly that you're compensated for. It's not like a customer to client to employee transaction, right? It is, again, there's a lot of overheads of the company. There's a lot of policies of the company. So those things are there. I mean, a person can definitely do wonders if they want to. This is what I feel. I was also very skeptical when I started my practice. I'm like, how am I going to manage? But we are managing. Somehow we are managing. And the thing is, again, it depends and all boils down to what is your ability. Like, I am very hungry to learn. This is what I keep on telling. I speak to Ankit also a lot, that I like to learn new things. I mean, even if they might seem dry to me at first or very challenging, but I'll still try to make an effort. So that opens up a lot of avenues. You have to upskill yourself. Otherwise, you will probably be stagnant, and then you will not have job satisfaction. And then, you'll end up, you'll be, redundant in that job. There's no point. You need to have that scope of self-improvement and growth.
So if I asked you, suppose a fresher or somebody joins the company and he's talented, hungry for work, hungry for success and everything. And he's genuinely interested in the job. And maybe he starts his salary in the late 20s. So how soon, on an average, I mean, I'm hoping this question will be not conflicting with the company policies. So how soon can that person be expected to be earning a salary of 1 lakh? Maybe 5 years later,
time,
10 years later,
more than five. Again, it depends. If you're staying in the same process, and I'm not talking about dental per se, if you want, I think Vishal would agree, if you want a good salary hike, you will have to probably cross-train yourself into another discipline or another line of business. Because any sort of ascension in the corporate, if whatever that you came up as your first touch point, is very slow. Climbing up the corporate ladder takes a lot of patience. Isn't it, Vishal? If I'm not wrong, right?
Yes.
It takes a lot of patience and time. There are a lot of other factors involved as to how your equation is, what your matrices are, what's your P4P, your performance, right? Your what's your rating from the supervisor? What is your what do you say, impression on the senior leadership? Because obviously everything is being communicated to everyone in the senior leadership. It's very weird that people don't know. I mean, I hope I'm not falling on deaf ears. When you're in corporate, people are very delusional about that you're not being watched. You're always being watched. Everyone knows your name. Even if there might be people whom you don't know, on a name basis, they will know your name. It's very simple. So you have to be just careful of how you are working, and everything else will fall in place. And patience is a big, big, big factor. You have to be, you have to be very patient. That's there. And I think the pandemic has taught us that. That's very important, right? You have to be patient. And again, it fuels itself. Being gratitude fuels patience. As simple as that. You're grateful that you have a job. There are so many people who are probably much more talented, skilled, qualified, and they have gone on furloughs till further notice, right? So I think that's what should fuel you, that every day when you're logging in and all those things, and even if it might be a slow day for you, you have to remind yourself, yeah, at least salary to aa rahi hai, jaisi bhi hai, aa to rahi hai. That is more important, isn't it?
And just to add on to what Dr. Rudra was just saying, so it depends on, as he said, that it depends on a lot of factors. Like in another 10 years of time, how much you will be earning. So that depends on a lot of factors. As in,
it depends on the market as well.
It depends on market. It depends on how many switches you have made. That is also one very important thing. So suppose you change your organization for 10 years, okay, and then you're getting growth and everything. But compared to market, if you're not getting that much of money or that much of hike, so obviously you can't compare yourself with a person who has made 3 or 4 switches and he has got 25-30% of hike compared to what you are getting. So there are a lot of factors. And just to give an example, I would say, Ankit, that I know of a person who joined as a claims processor, I would say, at Cognizant. He's a dentist only. And then he moved to process excellence, and he is now the GM.
Exactly.
And he's now the GM at Cognizant, and his salary would be in lakhs per month. And he has some 14, 15
that's
years.
That's what I'm saying. If I've noticed one thing, Vishal, if you're in the quality control team or the knowledge management team, oh man, business excellence, you get I mean, again, it depends from company to company, line of business to business. You have to take the leap of faith, and that works for every walk in life. People do MPH post BDS, right? People do MBA. Some people go complete tangent. We have a friend, Dr. Akash Pansal, right? He went exactly to finally what he loved doing in college, right? And now he's earning pretty decently about it. Like I actually look up to Akash as to you need that kind of conviction. A lot of us can probably say, everything about self-realization, everything. But when it comes to the final nitty-gritties and the practicalities of life, we all know that we'll be like, you've seen how those stand-up comedians say, every night you feel like writing the resignation letter. And by the end of the night, you're like, chalo, backspace, backspace, backspace. Let's just put it in the draft, right? So again, it depends on how you are taking things. Your outlook towards things should also be very welcoming to change, because there are people who are sitting there, they are okay with whatever they're getting for 10 years. That's also there, and that's also okay. That's a personal choice. You don't want to do. You're happy with wherever you are. That's completely your prerogative.
For many people, it's like they want to have more work-life balance. For someone, it's like growth. They want to grow every 2 years, and they have something in their mind as target.
Yeah. So it's again a personal choice. Yes, it's your personal ambitions. Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it's sustenance. I'll be very honest. For me personally, I need to have a regular salary that needs to come in, and work-life balance, right? Because I take a lot of pride. I take a lot of pride in the fact that I do very ethical treatment, and there is no substandard treatment happening at my clinic. The reason being, I am making sure that my rent is being paid for, because I'm working hard at MetLife to make sure that the overheads are being taken, and I don't have any added pressure to make sure that my clinic expenditures need to be met. So again, so that is a personal choice.
There was this proverb that I had heard a long time back that if you don't love your job, take a loan, then you start loving your job.
Yeah,
so I think
absolutely.
that applies in corporate jobs.
Absolutely, because if you notice, like, I mean, we've all chit chatted at Charak canteen, you know, when we were like almost paupers, yeah, right, where we were trying to make sure that the other person was paying the bill. But now look at us. I mean, let's be very honest, and it's a very, you know, proud thing to say. Whenever we catch up, you know, we end up fighting for who should pay the bill by themselves, right? It was the reverse thing, ki tu pay kar. Now it's like, I'll pay, not a problem. You're getting my point? And then that's how your aspirations grow, your EMIs will grow, right? So this is what happens, and I think every one of us is in a job profile. Salary aati hai, 5-10 minute दिखती है, EMIs जाते हैं, credit card का bill जाता है, and then you're finally back at square one. But then again, you're sustaining. That's what it is. Because
every job becomes monotonous at one point of time.
Yeah, and I think you know, I think that's where I think us Indians, to go on a broader perspective, we lack that thing. Because in the West, when you speak to people, right, their sense of satisfaction quotient is very different. You ask them, how is everything? They'll be like, I'm able to pay my bills, I'm happy. That's not the case with us, right? We have Sharma ji ka ladka, you know, we have our neighbors. Oh, he's driving a Creta within 3 years of his job. Oh, he just bought a new flat. You know, that kind of mentality, and being very honest, in India, that is very problematic, because it happens in our core field in dentistry also. Right from our preclinical labs, we have been taught कि किसका सबसे पहले काम खत्म हो जाएगा, किसकी ग्रेड सबसे अच्छे पहले बनेंगे, किसकी टीथ सेटिंग सबसे अच्छी है. I mean, Ankit, let's be very honest. Whatever things that we did, it must have made us dexterous. But हम तो सब कुछ लैब को ही भेजते हैं यार. Impression लिया, लैब को भेज दिया, है ना? So, and I feel we have wasted so much time in being competitive during our formative years. And I'm talking about every walk of life, be it MBA, BBA, medicine, healthcare, anything. We need to understand that there are a lot of other things than, you know, satisfying or massaging our egos just for the sake of competition. And that's what I feel. And this is what I think the pandemic has also taught us. Ki bhaiya, abhi sustenance pe chalo, growth baad mein kar lena. That's what it is. So absolutely. That's what is the crux, that you have to be very, you know, grateful. Gratitude is gratitude and patience.
And what Rudra was telling about our US counterparts, that is so true, because I have one AVP in my team. His name, I won't reveal his name. He is 78 or 79 years old. So you see, in India, we get retired when we are 58 or 60. And he is married for 52 years. He has great grandchildren, 4 or 5 great grandchildren, and he's still working at the age of 78 years.
And their work ethic is, they're really, because see, what happens is that India might be backward when it comes to a lot of things, but India's still dirt cheap when it comes to a lot of things. You go outside, you go abroad, you're supposed to do the laundry yourself. The plumber is expensive, man. हमारे पाइप फट जाता है, कुछ हो जाता है, हम फोन करके बुला लेते हैं, 50 रुपए देते हैं, and everything gets done. So again, it's the economy, it's the market, it's the kind of society that they live in, because they don't have a problem, to be honest. You know, people in the West, they don't have a problem living paycheck to paycheck. They said, I have food on my table, roof over my head, and my health is okay, I'm good here. Right? And the people who want to, I mean, that's what I've noticed, that I think we also need to a little bit take that thing into consideration, because we are we compare a lot. It's everywhere. I mean, even in our dental clinics, you know, they'll probably, I've had this experience where, you know, through the online telephonic portal, right, we all have Truecaller. This person is pretending to be a patient to ask the charges for whatever I do for filling, and I can see on the Truecaller that this is the same doctor of that same person who's the nearby clinic. And that's what it is. We need to change that lobster mentality. This is what I feel. There's a lot of negativity in the world, and I think the pandemic has taught us to be more grateful. That's the only thing.
Absolutely. So I think one last $1 million question. If somebody wants to apply, how do they go about to apply? Should I directly mail the company, look for companies, look for classifieds?
So, two things. Classifieds. They do. You have a lot of online portals. So what you can do is you can probably search on online portals for dental consultants, insurance. That way, those can be the keywords. There are not many dental insurance companies in India as such, so you can search. There are only few.
How many are there?
Cognizant is one. Cognizant is there.
Okay.
You have MetLife, you have EXL, mainly UHG is also there. So 3-4 companies are there. So you can search for that. The best way that you can get to do is, see, our dentist community is very small, right? So you will always, in the whole team of my own dentist or on my own team, you could find 2-3 common friends of each other. Our community is that small. So if you know anyone who is in dental insurance, and I've gotten a lot of people for for referrals and all those things, but then again, it's the market is pretty saturated. Like how Gaurav Gupta, who's a dentist and is a comedian, he says market down, right? So
Gaurav Gupta is a dentist. I didn't know.
Yeah, he's a dentist. Yeah, he's a dentist.
I was watching his video today only.
Yeah, he's a dentist. He's a dentist. He practices, by the way.
Oh.
So I know he's one of. I mean, you know Dr. Adarsh Sharma, right? So he's his batchmate, he's his friend from college. Yeah.
Batchmate, right? Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Ki, referral is the most basic way that you will get to know. Like people will have they'll have this kind of a thing where you can probably ask someone who's in the company, and then they can probably ask someone of the team, and then we can probably say if there is a hiring happening or anything of that sort. Abhi to we are still in the BCP, so I don't think any hiring is happening right now, but if it does, I'll probably let you guys know. Because देखो काम तो ऐसा है कि market keeps on, it's always in ebb and flow. So once there will be, I don't know when the pandemic will end, but once we have the post-pandemic, we will have a huge post-pandemic boom. That economic, I would want to call it, it will be a positive economic whiplash we will get, because everything will be opened. Yeah, everything will be opened, right? So once we get rid of this godforsaken virus, अभी तो कहीं नहीं जा रहा है, but you get my drift, right?
So basically, whoever is watching this interview till the end, they have an edge over the other people because they can get in touch with you and you will give them a reference whenever there's a vacancy.
Sure, absolutely.
So that's a good thing. I think we can wrap it up.
And I believe I was
about to ask you only if you have any questions.
Yeah, so if you have any openings in your organization or anything of that sort, so I believe, Rudra, you're part of our LinkedIn group as well. So you can, like, if you get a chance, so you can
I'll publish something if anything comes up, for sure. Yeah.
And if you have any thought leadership articles or anything of that sort you are doing.
Yes, absolutely. So we get one of the perks of being in my company is, again, they focus a lot on leadership and development, right? Learning and development. So you get a lot of stationery from office, like most corporates, right? You don't have to buy a diary. You don't have to buy a notepad. You'll probably get all those things. You get there's some things that are very good. One more thing I would like to reiterate. Your holidays are US federal holidays. That means you'll be working on your Bhai Dooj and Rakhi. So just a heads up. But then again,
so you will be having a holiday tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah, it's a holiday for me tomorrow. Memorial Day, bro. All chilling, long weekend that way. So that is a good thing that way. I feel that way it is good. You know why? Because if you have a holiday which is Indian based holiday calendar, you do. I mean, Diwali and all is considered. But I can open up the clinic at that day. I'll probably visit my clinic tomorrow and I'll keep it open for the whole day, because of the fact that, and I'll probably see a couple of patients as well, right? Because it's my holiday and you enjoy that. Plus, you get also one more thing. The thing is, you get a decent amount of leaves. The leave policy I cannot discuss, but then again, there's something known as a privilege leave that you earn after every 30 days. Like that's there in almost all corporates. But the work-life balance is so good. Yeah, this is a company that encourages you. I remember we had this, all associate mail that was sent out by the senior leadership of like the whole GOSC, right? The whole MetLife, like the Noida thing, that HR was, encouraging people to take leave. Like, आप बहुत दिन से काम कर रहे हैं, please छुट्टी ले लीजिए, कोई बात नहीं. That kind of a thing is there. Because the work-life balance is such that, yeah, ठीक है, कर लेंगे काम, कोई बात नहीं. That's all right. So that again, it depends on span to span, how much. I think Vishal might be knowing about this capacity utilization and shrinkage and all those things that are there. But then again, they're pretty okay with leaves. So you don't get that in our corporate core corporate dentistry. All these I can't take a name. You know what I'm talking about, right? Leave is a big problem there. So that's there. I mean, work-life balance is there. US holidays are there. Learning is amazing. If you are a voracious learner, oh man, you will not have the end of it. You get access to articles which probably a lot of corporates pan world you might not get access to. Like you've heard of Coursera, right? Vishal, right? Coursera learning, right? You get free access. You can read whatever you want. That's beautiful. You can learn so much, and also you can get yourself trained, about all the different types of tools, like, for Excel, PowerPoint, all these things. There's so much scope. अब प्रोवाइडेड वही है कि आपको लर्निंग का मन है. अगर आपको वही करने की, भैया टाई बांधी, ब्रीफ केस उठाया, ऑफिस में गए, टिफिन खाया, काम किया, वापस आए, that's up to you. That's completely up to you. So yeah, that's what it is. I mean, it's good. I feel it's good.
Yeah. So I was saying that I asked you this question particularly because I myself have been writing a lot of blogs and articles and coming up with different thought leadership. But that is mostly related to like healthcare IT stuff and everything.
Right.
You have come up with anything related to dental insurance or something of that sort, or you in future are planning to do something of that sort, I believe that would be a very big help to all the people who are looking forward.
Sure. My only envision, to be very honest, I think this is mine and Ankit's vision, is if only dental insurance comes in India, bro, we'll be driving Mercedes. I'm not kidding. It's crazy. It's crazy. My cousin who came from the States, they call dentists mafia there. They're like, what are they doing? They're gundas, man. Like, I can't have sugar because otherwise it's going to cost me $2,000. I can buy a flat in that. I mean, get a rented flat in that amount. So that's
ironically, patients in India also think the same. Even after paying 1 by maybe 100th of what patients are paying in the US.
Absolutely. That's there. So I think that's one common factor that everyone, factors in. Money is money. You can't help it. That's what it is. So affordability comes anyway in most of the people, until unless in our core profession, in our core dentistry, until unless you're, the pain is unbearable, you'll always do, itte EMI mein itna ho jayega. And we all do this. Let's be honest. Everyone breaks it down to EMIs. And I think most of us, I'm going a little tangential with this. If credit cards did not exist, I don't think iPhones and Apple products would have been, or Samsung products would have been sold that easily. If you completely omit the credit card policy or the credit policy, people will not be doing anything. Loan hata do, dekho kya hota hai. Then everyone is probably driving a Maruti 800 or whatever, Alto, whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely. A lot of times, even when I can afford something, I still prefer to buy it on credit card because my Indian heart cannot let go of that much amount of money at the same time.
And people, exactly, and people are like, I never understood. Like, I find it's a self-feeding quicksand. This is what my opinion about credit cards. Like, my brother uses it a lot. right? And he's like, civil score badao. मैंने कहा भाई मुझे नहीं पता civil score में क्या होना. I don't know what the nitty-gritties. But then again, it's a personal choice. People spend a lot on stupid things. People spend. So I personally feel that whatever you're getting into, be it a job or be it any expenditure or anything, you have to, it's always a calculative risk.
That's true.
Absolutely. So I guess we'll wrap it up. Dr. Vishal, you have any other questions?
No, I think we were supposed to end it at 7, but because
that's what happens when Manipal people get together.
And everything.
Yeah, that's what.
To stop only.
Actually, that's the thing. No, see, when Manipal people meet, it becomes like that. We are batchmates, right? So that happens, and we did, I think, come out with a lot of interesting, facts about a lot of things. It was a good discussion.
It was a good awareness program. I would not even call it a discussion. It was a good awareness program. Even for me. I mean, Vishal and you were already into the insurance thing. But for me, it was quite new. I mean, at one point, I wanted to apply in your company because the work-life balance is so good.
Yeah. That's there. Every day counting gratitude, man. Nothing else. Job is job. Very important.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And something that is, very important to note is that if you're hardworking, if you're talented, whether you open a clinic, whether you get into a job, whether you do both of them at the same time, you will excel at it. As long as you're driven to do, you're goal-oriented, you know what you want in life.
As long as you're goal-oriented and as long as you're patient enough, you need to be patient. You can't just, Ankit, we've seen this with our own practices. Compared to our day one and what we are doing now, abhi chalo pandemic wapas aa gaya, but you know how it is, right? We know how it is, and everything, making a name, adding a brand value, if I may add, right? We both have, Vishal, both our practices are named after our names, right? I followed suit after Ankit's thing, right? Dr. Jha's Dentistry and Dr. Rudra's Dental Care. So that was because, it adds brand value. And I think in today's world, brand value means the world to everyone. Otherwise, again, koi iPhone nahi kharidega, koi Samsung nahi kharidega. Baat to wahi hai.
Absolutely.
Right.
So I think we'll end this interview now. Otherwise, I'm sure we can go on talking till the morning, 3 hours of morning. So we'll end it now. And if anybody has any further questions, all of our profile links will be available in the description of this video. And anybody can get in touch with Dr. Rudra at a personal level to ask about the insurance or anything else. And that's about it. I think that's all for today. Very soon we'll come up with some other interview with somebody else from some other profession. Let's see where we land up. And that's about it. Okay, bye-bye everybody. Thanks a lot, Dr. Rudra. Thanks a lot, Dr. Vishal. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Pallabi, who could not be there in the end.
Thank you, Pallabi, also. Right.